Holy shiitake. We have so much breaking news this morning that even thinking about it requires me to take another sip of coffee. Mm, so damn good. Okay, let's start. Once again, the FBI has flubbed the release of the Epstein files that were supposed to be fully disclosed to the American public by Friday. But what happened on Monday uh, is just a treat. So I need to tell you this. The reporting first came out from Kyle Cheney, okay? And he is with Politico. And what happened is this. Apparently, well, let me just back up. When you go to look for, or journalists go to look for new releases of tranches of the Epstein files, they go to a Department of Justice website that ends with doj.gov. And the naming conventions for these, like if you look normally at the top of if you look at your URL, and not when you're on my YouTube show, if you look at that, that's going to be a bit confusing. But if you look at the Department of Justice website for the releases of the Epstein files, with each release, they are numbered the same way. They use the same naming convention. So there are people who are spending their time, and this is a good thing, anticipating that a new tranche will come out. And they typed into their search menu what they thought the next one would be named. And lo and behold, they found it. Now, it's not like officially, this was yesterday, and it was available for several hours. Now, you wouldn't have seen it on the website because it was hidden, but it wasn't non-existent on the internet. Okay. So what happened next? You will, this is like the flippin' hugest thing I could be telling you about this. And this was in a piece I want to show you the article. I'm going to drop this in the chat right now. I'm going to show you the article so you know that I'm not making this up. There are some things that are coming out about the Epstein files that people are claiming exist, and they're just faking it doesn't exist. There are some things in the Epstein files that have been released that aren't real because they were collected. For example, there is a short video that the FBI had, which makes sense. It's a fake video of the supposed video of Epstein killing himself in prison. That is, they had it, which makes sense that they would have had it since it was going around at one time. But if you see it having come out of the DOJ files, it doesn't mean it's real. But my friends, what I'm about to share with you is super real. So let's go to that article. And again, this is huge breaking news. Okay. So this headline, this is Carl Cheney and Erica Orden. New trove of apparent Epstein files posted on DOJ site disappears. Subhead, the Justice Department didn't respond to requests for comment on the new documents or the decision to remove them. So these were tens. This article came out last night at 10:53 p.m. These were tens of thousands of documents that appeared to be from the Epstein files, right? They were briefly posted and then they disappeared. Politico saw them through a justice.gov link, but again, they weren't fully visible. As I said, let me get rid of, I want this to go away, this ad. Stop seeing this ad. Great. Seen it multiple times. We won't show this ad again, but now it's blocking this. Okay, great. Thank you. So this was, officials have been posting documents from the files, and the URL corresponded with the anticipated 8th tranche. Okay, so let's talk about what's in here. The materials, I'm reading from the article, the materials describe 2008 negotiations between the Justice Department and lawyers for Epstein as he attempted to settle claims that he trafficked girls. The most important thing I am going to share with you, this is huge. This is, I just want to say right now, let me show up right here for you. This is everything. what I am about to read to you, okay? This is flippin' huge. If you are turning into this, there was an Epstein list of people that the Department of Justice thought could be prosecuted. And this was from 2019, created during the first Trump administration. Okay? Now, you might say, what was Merrick Garland doing? I'm not sure. Allison Gill says these people were still under investigation during the Biden administration. Let's set that aside for a second and focus on these documents, okay? Now, they were redacted, but this is critical. Let me tell you, this is I'm now reading again from Kyle Cheney for you and Erica Orden. After Epstein's August 2019 death, prosecutors produced a 7-page memo on co-conspirators they might consider charging, and followed that with an 86-page update in December. Okay, so I'm telling you, there was August 2019, after Epstein's found dead in his jail. Prosecutors had a memo listing co-conspirators that could be charged. And then they had an 86-page update. 7 pages to 86 pages. Plus, in addition, listen up, a 13-page memo of corporate prosecutions, i.e., banks. This had to do with following the money and so on, or other entities. And then they created a 26-page memo of additional targets they were considering. So these memos are referenced in, so as Kyle Cheney and Erica Orden explained, the memos themselves, right? So they weren't released in this tranche. Of course, they're trying to hide them. Instead, there were documents that referenced these memos. Okay, now, I know that I have explained this to you as best I can, but now I want to switch over to a guy on YouTube by the name of, I guess his channel is called Voidzilla, and he has a very compelling presentation here that I would like to share some of with you. So let me share this with you. It's entitled "They Accidentally Leaked New Epstein Files, and It's Really Bad." Bad for them, good for truth, good for vindicating the victims. Okay, I'm going to play this for you now, and we'll watch it together. I think that this will be enlightening. Again, if you are just joining the show, hi, I'm Jen Taub. Huge breaking news. The Justice Department didn't realize that they were releasing the next tranche of files, that anyone could see them, even though they were hidden on their website. And they didn't realize that some of the files that were publicly available for 2 hours or so before they were taken off contained references to lists of individuals and corporations that could be pursued. We were told, as you remember, when Pam Bondi tried to shut this whole thing down in July, that there was nothing there to see. This is the smoking gun. It's only now a question of names. And what I'm about to show you, this video from Voidzilla, figures out who some of these names are. He has looked at the documents, and he can talk to us in more detail than I was able to simply by telling you what Kyle Cheney and Erica Orden of Politico reported. So buckle up, get a little coffee, and we'll watch this together. Let's go.
The FBI just accidentally released 11,000 Jeffrey Epstein files that they hadn't publicly put out yet, but we got access to them. And at the end of this video, I'm going to show you how to access them. Here's what that looks like. It's volume 8 of the files, but you can see right now that they've only released 7 data sets. And so myself, the guys at Jmail and the guys at DropSite, we've been investigating this. I partnered with them to kind of look at some of these files. And they got access to volume 8 early. You would just type it in the URL. It wasn't like indexable on search, but you could just type in the specific URL and it would just come up. You could download the entire zip file. And that's what we did. We've been looking through it. I want to go over some of it because I believe some of what we've seen directly contradicts the FBI's earlier statement that, oh, there's no evidence or we did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties. That's what they told us. Right? They said, we've already looked through the files. You don't need to see the files back in July. Of course, all the pressure has made them now start releasing some of this stuff. And we believe that this was slated for release. But remember, they weren't going to release all the files yet. They had to hold some back. Well, we believe that these 11,000 files are part of what they held back because clearly they aren't out and clearly they were ready because a lot of these are redacted. I mean, already you can see we found several files that were once again over 100 pages of redacted information. So it was all ready to be released. It's unclear why it wasn't. But let me caveat before we get into the material that this is a breaking story. And as such, I'm sure there's going to be some pieces of information that we are interpreting or trying to interpret live. And because of that, I want to warn you to withhold your judgment on some of this stuff until we get more evidence. I'm sure the president's going to be asked about some of this stuff. I'm sure Todd Blanche, Pam Bondi, they're going to get asked about this because it is extremely damning, I think, what we see in some of this. Specifically, I want to draw your attention immediately to the 10 co-conspirators that are mentioned in some of these emails in 2019. Now, this is just alarming stuff because prior to this, remember that all we really had was Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. That's the only people who have ever faced any charges at all. Ghislaine Maxwell, the only one who actually faced consequences, right? But in 2019, apparently there were 10 co-conspirators. Now, the people who were sending this to and from have been blacked out, but at the bottom.
Okay, I'm not stopping this, you guys. We're going to continue this.
We see that this is.
I just want to share the link to his site with you. Okay.
The violent crime section, crimes against human trafficking unit. And we can see that of the 10 co-conspirators, 3 have been located in Florida, served grand jury subpoenas, 1 in Boston, 1 in New York City, 1 in Connecticut were served. 4 out of the 10 are outstanding with attempts having been made. What is a wealthy businessman in Ohio? A lead is being sent to CV and the remaining 3 are currently out of pocket. This is stunning stuff. Previously, we did not know how many co-conspirators were suspected of, or I'm not aware of anything like that. And additionally, some of the details on this are revealed later because we see this subject line. It says co-conspirators at the top. And it says blank does not need to head out. We made contact with blank last night in New York City. Blank last night in New York. Contact was made with blank, blank, and blank. By the way, I love how these potential co-conspirators are people who are being blacked out. Like, why? I thought the whole point of this was you couldn't redact people for personal information reasons or for public embarrassment. You could only redact on the basis of it being a victim. And I'm not sure how these people could possibly be victims here.
Epstein Files Transparency Act prohibits redactions, quote, on the basis of embarrassment, reputational harm, or political sensitivity. Has anything been redacted on that basis?
Absolutely, positively not.
But anyways, you can see that it says attempts were made to blank and Brunel. That's Jean-Luc Brunel, the famous who's now dead. Blank is confirmed to live in New York, was away for.
I need to say one thing. He called him Jean-Luc Brunel. Jean in French is pronounced John, but it's okay. Let's continue with that. I don't need to be petty. I made that mistake once. And was very embarrassed by it. That's another story for another day. Let us continue.
For the holiday weekend, we did not have a good address, but an attempt was made in New York. Attempts are made to Maxwell today. Blank. You get it. Like, it's already all the people they suspected this whole time are redacted, of course. And they say, I do not know about Ohio contacting Wexner. Now, that's a reference to Les Wexner, the former CEO of Victoria's Secret. This is huge. We've long suspected that he was, of course, one of the co-conspirators. And obviously, the fact the FBI suspected it isn't a 100% proof confirmation. But clearly, they were serving grand jury subpoenas. I mean, that must be who they're talking about, one wealthy businessman in Ohio, because later it's confirmed by.
I'm not sure that the wealthy businessman in Ohio would be Wexner, because it says, I don't know about Ohio contacting. It depends what that means. I don't know about Ohio, meaning the people in Ohio. Does Ohio mean I don't know about the person in Ohio, comma, I'm contacting Wexner? Or does I do not know about Ohio contacting Wexner means the police in Ohio or the Ohio FBI? It's hard to know. Let's continue.
This whole idea of Ohio contacting Wexner. And you can see at the bottom, this is from the FBI New York. When you get a chance, give me an update on the status of the 10 co-conspirators. This is really bad to know that we knew as early as 2019 the right people to target, and yet our FBI, who's had evidence of this the entire time or leads on it, has declined to prosecute, right? Because this is what the FBI now tells us. Oh, don't bother. Don't worry about it. That's what they wanted us to believe in July. Fast forward to December, we find out there's 10 guys that they knew about since like 6 years ago. It's insane. Even over here, we see that in one of the lawsuits, I believe this is with Maxwell, the government actually wanted to refer to people at trial as co-conspirators of the defendant, aka Maxwell, for the purposes of a rule. And then they say Jeffrey Epstein, and then there are two names listed there who are going to be listed as co-conspirators. Again, who are those people? We were told that the only co-conspirator now is Maxwell, and if you don't believe that, you're crazy, you're a conspiracy theorist. But back in 2020, this was an idea not just promulgated by wackos, it was promulgated by who? The FBI themselves, the Department of Justice. Look at this. Co-conspirator question transcript. This is from USA NYS. They say, question, when Jeffrey Epstein died, a lot of people asked, who's next? Is the government going to hold people who are accused of helping him recruit these girls? Are they going to hold them accountable? And then the answer is, well, I'll note that the original charges against Jeffrey Epstein contained a conspiracy charge, and we allege that there were conspirators involved. Jeffrey Epstein couldn't have done what he did without the assistance of others. And I can assure you that our investigation is moving forward, except I guess not. Against everyone except for Ghislaine Maxwell, it got killed. Like Ghislaine Maxwell was the only one who faced justice, right? Except then she got moved to Club Fed, to this nice prison, right? And by the way, that
I need to slow him down a little bit. The February 2020 email was between prosecutors. Now that was that 2020 or 2021. I'm sorry. Let me just go back. Let me just look, make sure. Yeah, so it was still during the Trump administration. Okay, let's.
And I can assure you that our investigation is moving forward, except I guess not. Against everyone except for Ghislaine Maxwell, it got killed. Like Ghislaine Maxwell was the only one who faced justice, right? Except then she got moved to Club Fed, to this nice prison, right?
Okay. So the rest of what he talks about is mostly Ghislaine Maxwell in prison. So here's the bottom line. There are files and they are available. I have not looked at them, but I trust Politico. And this is going to be a huge story. And Trump will have to be asked about it, and Bondi as well. Okay. There is no question that there was a list of people and entities that the prosecutors, that the Department of Justice and the FBI were looking at. They were on a list in as early as August of 2019, maybe 10, maybe more individuals who might have been charged, as well as entities. Now, some of these individuals could be victims as well. There are some women who started out as victims who facilitated some of this abuse. I'm not sure, but when you see these names described as wealthy businessman in Ohio, and you hear about corporations we know there is a major cover up. Now, I want to address something that has come up in the chat. I'm not sure who raised this, but there is also a rumor out there that I want to tamp down that may be from some fraudsters. They're I don't say, well, they literally have been caught up in fraud and they're very big on social media. I don't want to name these brothers, but there are people saying that some of the PDF files, and this is court documents this has happened in, there's some of them where you can grab text, paste it in a Word file, and then unredact and see what's there. And one of them has put out a video saying, look, we did this because here's this document before. And look, we've taken the redaction off. See what it looks like. Well, my fear, because I have gone into PDF files and they're not that kind that you can grab. Okay. Maybe there are some that are. I'm not fully discounting it. But where I think the sleight of hand is here is there are a lot of documents that have been released in this tranche that were also publicly released before, and this may have already been out there. That said, there is a strong chance. I'm not saying it didn't happen. My eye is on it. I haven't confirmed. It's quite possible that the Department of Justice was very bad at how they managed their redacting and did it in such a way that they didn't properly save the files and they can be cut and paste and reversed. But I'm not sure that is true. So be careful before you assume it. That is accurate. I'm waiting for evidence either from my ability to look at a file and have that happen, or someone who is a reputable news source to confirm it, as opposed to those folks. Okay, so I've shown you now two sources, Politico and this guy on the internet who has gone through and showed us what was in these files that weren't supposed to drop. And we must demand, I think Congress, I think the committee, when they hear this, must absolutely demand not just these files that reference these memos, but the actual memos themselves, unredacted. If Pam Bondi wants to say that there are criminal charges related to the Epstein and Maxwell abuse that they are considering, if she says that, then she would be permitted to hide these names. However, as you remember, she has gone on the record several times saying the case is closed. It can't be both. Furthermore, if there's no ongoing investigation and they release these names, there is no stopping a future DOJ from bringing charges in cases where the statute of limitations has not run, such as child sexual abuse. Okay? Now, regarding these corporations, to the extent that there was participation in mail fraud and that some of this transpired right before Epstein died, let's say 2018, 2019, mail fraud charges or conspiracy to commit mail fraud, those things have 5-year statutes of limitation. So to the extent that this activity took place before, those statutes probably have run against those institutions. We need to see the names. And if they haven't, then why the F are they not pursuing charges? This is flippin' huge, guys. Now there's more giant news also related to something getting out there that shouldn't. As you may have heard, 60 Minutes, the program that has been around, I want to say for, is it 50 years? I mean, 60 Minutes, the most popular television program. It's been around since 1968. It has is a trusted show. Typically, there are 14. Every show averages between 8 and 10 million viewers. It reaches a wide audience of people who are not addicted to news. It is a range of people who watch. We're talking about, over 10 million a show. And thank you so much. I'm not saying thank you, Zoe C7. So 60 Minutes died a death. I don't know if it can be revived and lifted from the ashes like Lazarus. But 60 Minutes died on Sunday when the new editor-in-chief, or the head editor at CBS, Barry Weiss, who came from her own, I don't know, it was never an investigative reporter. She had started up her own newsroom and somehow became head of CBS. We know how that happened, right? This is, let me just say, she's 41 years old, never been an investigative reporter. She had worked at the Wall Street Journal and a reporter at the New York Times. And then she started up her own enterprise. And after that, it was called the Free Press. And it was not a beacon of, oh my goodness. Thank you. Thank you, Gail. You are so sweet. It was not a beacon of journalistic integrity. Let's put it that way. And it was pretty reactionary and far right. So she is now the head of CBS News. Why? Because when David Ellison, the young guy who is the son of a billionaire, Nepo baby, son of Larry Ellison, when he had his Skydance company take over CBS News, shortly after that, she was installed. They are very conservative people. Larry Ellison is a huge, they call him a centibillionaire. He's one of the wealthiest men in the world. I think he's worth over $200 billion, give or take 40 billion. And he founded, I'm trying to think of the company Oracle, right? So he's a software billionaire. His son David owns Skydance, and they took over CBS. Now they are in the middle. They are in the middle of trying to take over Paramount. Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm saying this wrong. They own Paramount Skydance. They're trying to take over Warner Brothers Discovery. Okay, they want to take over Warner Brothers, and they are in this fight, right? And they, as you may know, they are engaging in this hostile takeover of Paramount right now, and this is playing out in the news. And in order to beef up their offer to beat Netflix, I'm sorry, not Paramount. The target is Warner Brothers. The Ellison team, dad and son, are working to try to get Warner Brothers. Netflix also wants Warner Brothers. The Trump administration has made noises that they want to support the Ellisons because the Ellisons support Trump. And they're doing everything they can to try to get Warner Brothers. So remember, the Ellison duo, and let's just say David Ellison, the son, owns Paramount CBS, which runs 60 Minutes. Let's get to this. So this is, why did 60 Minutes die? Because Barry Weiss, who was put in place by the Ellisons, spiked a story about the CCOT prison in El Salvador that shows that we sent men there to be tortured. She spiked it. She claimed in meetings and publicly it just wasn't ready, that she wasn't ready. There was unnecessary reporting. And also her big claim was that they were waiting for a response from the Trump administration and the story couldn't go forward. Well, that is bullshit. As Jesse Eisinger and I talked about yesterday, he is an editor over at ProPublica. You give time for a response and you tell a party what you're going to say about them. If they choose not to respond, that's not a veto on your story. The First Amendment still allows you to go forward. But what's even worse, my friends, is the reporter at 60 Minutes who created this story and appears in it. She blew the whistle. Her name is Sharon Alfonsi, and she criticized the decision to pull it. She claimed it was purely political, meaning the Ellisons or David Ellison, with a lot of his father's backing to do everything in his life, that David Ellison wanted it spiked. Now, we also have learned that this had been vetted by legal, been vetted by everybody. There had been screenings of it internally. And Barry Weiss had 5 opportunities over a week's time to look at it. It was only Thursday before the show aired on Sunday that she started to ask questions, that she watched, and she talked to the editor. Not the editor, she talked to the team, didn't directly talk to the editor, apparently. She made some comments about things she wanted changed. They were changed. 60 Minutes blasted out on social. Watch this. This is coming out on Sunday. And then she spiked it. Oh my God. Thank you, M. Petrie. So what I'm going to share with you, though, is the exciting news that you may have heard, that Barry Weiss is so young at her job that when she decided to spike it, she forgot that 60 Minutes has international reach. And there was a person in Canada watching it on his television. And I don't know if it was a stream on his television screen or it was his network, but he was watching it and he filmed it. And he shared that all over Twitter. And it is, of course, all over social media. Now, here we go. They are trying to take it down from everywhere. And unfortunately, they're not going to be able to do that. Now, I would like to share some of this with you. And I don't believe this is a copyright infringement because I think this is a matter of public interest. And what I will do is only show you pieces of it. But what I'm going to do is show you excerpts of it from a page where Allison Gill has this on her. Here we go. Allison Gill shared this on her Substack. And you'll notice that the screen is tilted, and that is because the person filming it was actually holding his phone up to the television. Okay. What we learned from this also is that everything Barry Weiss said about the Trump administration not responding wasn't true. And what we've also learned is the so-called Streisand effect is alive and well. That the stupidest thing they did was to ham-handedly pull this down. And as a result, more people have watched this episode than probably will. And they also lost all that advertising revenue. So let's play that for you right now. As I said, some excerpts. Here we go.
Trivago. You may recall earlier this year when the Trump administration deported hundreds of Venezuelan men to El Salvador, a country most had no connection to. The White House claimed the men were terrorists, part of a violent gang, and invoked a centuries-old wartime power, saying it allowed them to deport some men immediately without due process, an unusual strategy that sparked an ongoing legal battle. Tonight, you'll hear from some of those men. They describe torture, sexual and physical abuse inside CCOT, one of El Salvador's harshest prisons, where they say they endured 4 months of hell. It began as soon as the planes landed. The deportees thought they were headed back to Venezuela, but then saw hundreds of Salvadoran police waiting for them on the tarmac. Shackled, they were paraded in front of cameras, pushed onto buses, and delivered to CCOT, El Salvador's notorious maximum security prison.
En el momento en que llegamos, el director del SECOT. When we got there, the SECOT director was talking to us. Y lo principal, the first thing he told us was that we would never see the light of day or night again. Día ni la de la noche. He said, "Welcome to hell. I'll make sure you never leave."
Did you think you were going to die there?
We thought we were already the living dead, honestly.
We met Luis Munoz Pinto in Colombia. He was a college student in repressive Venezuela and hoped to seek asylum in the United States. In 2024, he says he waited in Mexico until his scheduled appointment with U.S. Customs and Border Protection in California. During that interview,
They just looked at me and told me I was a danger to society.
you have no criminal record.
I never even got a traffic ticket.
Nevertheless, he was detained by customs. He says he spent 6 months locked up in the U.S., waiting for a decision on his asylum case when he was deported. One of 252 Venezuelans sent to CCOT between March and April. Inside, he says, their hands and feet were tied, forced to their knees, their heads were shaved.
There was blood everywhere, screams, people crying, people who couldn't take it and were urinating and vomiting on themselves. When you get there, you already know you're in hell. You don't need anyone else to tell you.
He says the guards began savagely beating them with their fists and batons. Tell me about what they did to you personally.
4 guards grabbed me, and they beat me until I bled, to the point of agony. They knocked our faces against the wall. That was when they broke one of my teeth.
CCOT, the Terrorism Confinement Center, was built in 2022 as a key part of Salvadoran President Nayib Bukele's sweeping anti-gang crackdown. The massive prison, designed to hold 40,000 inmates, and its harsh reputation are a point of pride for Bukele, who regularly allows social media influencers to tour it.
As you can see, we're literally in the middle of the desert.
Guards show off cramped cells where metal bunks are stacked 4 high. There are no mattresses or sheets. Inmates said they had no access to the outdoors and no contact with relatives. International observers warned CCOT was violating the UN standard for minimum treatment of prisoners. And 2 years ago, during the Biden administration, the U.S. State Department cited torture and life-threatening prison conditions in its report on El Salvador. But this year, during a meeting with President Bukele at the White House, President Trump expressed admiration for El Salvador's prison system.
They're great facilities, very strong facilities, and they don't play games.
In March, the U.S. struck a deal to pay El Salvador $4.7 million to house Venezuelan deportees at CCOT.
So what I want to do is give you guys that link, and I just put it in the chat so that you can watch more of that. It's an important episode, and I'm not sure if they're actually going to air it. But as you can see, the attempts to hide the truth are not successful. The truth will out, and it's not pretty. Now, I've got a little bit more for you, and I'm pretty sure this should all fall under the category, really, of crazy town. And that is that Donald Trump is totally losing it. It's hard to even describe what the F he is doing, because I really don't know what is going on in his mind or the minds of people around him. So he is, let's just play some crazy town music, because it is crazy as hell. Let's do it as I get these clips ready, because it's nutso. Okay. What is nuts is that Donald Trump, pretty much like the, I don't know, the 8-year-old boy that he has the temperament of, that Donald Trump is now, I've got this, wanting to either create new Navy warships or Navy, sorry, he wants to call them warships, naval vessels. He wants to name them all after himself. He is still pursuing regime change in Venezuela, and he's back on his plan to forcibly take over Greenland. Why? It's all together part of his insanity. It's not just trying to distract from the Epstein files. That is not the case. Will it distract? Yeah. But this man is off his nut. He is. And I want to share with you, some scenes from his press conference in the Oval Office, where all this stuff becomes incredibly clear what a Looney Tune he is. What's worse is he wants to add nuclear weapons to these naval warships named after him, which Tom Nichols, former Naval War College professor and often talking head and very nice guy in real life, described as insane or insanity. Let's play this, and you will soon see how crazy the man is.
Okay. Thank you, sir. You've named Governor Landry to be new special envoy to Greenland.
Yeah.
How do you, what do you see that role entailing? And is it still your intention that
Well, he
Greenland
called
become
me,
part
and
of the
you know,
U.S.?
he viewed Louisiana, the Louisiana Purchase. He said, "I'm governor of Louisiana," and he said, "I would love." I didn't call him; he called me. He's very proactive. He's a great guy. He's a deal guy. He's a deal maker type guy, and we need it for national protection. We need Greenland for national protection. They have a very small population. And I don't know, they say Denmark, but Denmark has spent no money. They have no military protection. They say that Denmark was there 300 years ago or something with a boat. Well, we were there with boats too, I'm sure. So we'll have to work it all out. But he felt very strongly we need it for we need Greenland for national security, not for minerals. We have so many sites for minerals and oil and everything. We have more oil than any other country in the world. We need Greenland for national security. Okay.
Thank you, sir. You've named.
Okay. So, guys, he's acting as if Greenland has no protection from that Greenland, because it's, of course, north of North America, that it's just there, that it's exposed, and somehow there is absolutely no protection there. But in reality, there is NATO allies protecting Greenland. Denmark is part of NATO. Greenland is part of Denmark. Donald Trump's imperial ambitions echo Putin's. As you can see, how close Greenland is to Russia. I mean, I feel like I need to, show you a map, just a little map here that shows you the picture globally. But I thought I had this for you. I guess I can. I mean, the AP has this nice picture, but when I pull it up, you can't quite see the top of the globe here. So I'm kind of disappointed here. Let me. At any rate, if you think about how let me just do a map of Greenland. I really wanted global here, where you could see how not a flat map, but actually how you would see it on the globe. Oh, I think I can do this. Here we go. Let's share this tab, and you can sort of see where it is. Okay. This is Greenland. It's dark green. It's part of the Kingdom of Denmark. And you can see, I think, to the left of Greenland, you can see Canada. Do you see Canada below that big, you see North American continent, you can see the Canada, you can see United States, you see Michigan as that mitten right there. And across from Greenland, I think you can see Russia, right? And you can also see below, you can see Europe. Do you see the Italy boot down there? You can see the UK. Do you see England and Ireland over there? And to its right, I think you can see Norway, Sweden, and Finland, and then Russia. I mean, I'm giving you can see the continent of Africa. Do you see where this is? Okay, so there's Greenland. And he's suggesting that we need it for our protection. Protection from whom? From Russia? He doesn't seem to fear Russia. Is he really just grabbing this in an alliance with Russia? It's really kind of more than kind of Looney Tunes. And so I got more for you. So, this is one of his plans, right? And there is more from this meeting that is batshit crazy. So we've got a few more clips from here. Not just that he had lots of cover up, makeup, some foundation on his hands, but that he is. Hold on. Let me just pull this up for you, and we are going to share this. Give me a second. I want to blow this up. Okay, let's play this. This is where he's talking about all of his boy toys, his ships and shit. Okay. He's reading from a script.
They'll help maintain American military supremacy, revive the American shipbuilding industry, and inspire fear in America's enemies all over the world. We want respect. We're going to have it. We already have it. We're more respected now than we ever were.
I'm sorry. Who are our enemies? I would think Russia would be an adversary. Are they suggesting, is he saying China? What enemies all over the world? Is he talking about Europe?
A year and a half ago, they laughed at us. Now they respect us again
Yeah.
at levels that they've never respected us. We envision that these two ships, we're talking about 10, but we're going to start with 2, and we're going to quickly morph into 10. And ultimately, we think it's going to be anywhere from 20 to 25 of these. But we're starting with the first 2 immediately, and we're going to then be very quickly involved with, I think, we're going to do another 8. And then we're going to ultimately and pretty quickly have a total of about 20 to 25. We'll make that determination. They'll help maintain American military supremacy, revive the American shipbuilding industry, and inspire fear in America's enemies all over.
Okay. I'm trying to understand why we're wasting money on his project, but he, this is what this man is all about. He's off his rocker, and it will, of course, get worse. He is a lame duck president. He will not be serving next term. When he has his party eviscerated in the midterms, God willing, it will only get worse. He will try to maximize his executive power. Now, he also, as it gets crazier, is pulling up. This is crazy. He is now, in addition, as you know, to him threatening companies in ways that even I don't think are good. To ask our pharmaceutical companies to lower prices is perfectly appropriate, and that should be done through negotiations with drug companies, with Medicare, and so on. There's a way that they can use normal contractual bargaining power. But Donald Trump rather just use his own name to threaten people like it's a mob shakedown. And it's not just the corporations. Now he's getting on the phone and threatening heads of state. And let's listen to this. Again, more crazy town.
I called up the heads of the countries. As an example, France, I spoke to a very good man, President Macron of France. And I said, Emmanuel, you have to raise your drug prices. He said, no, we will not do that. I said, you have to. He said, no, I don't want to do that. Look, you're asking me.
Okay. I think drug prices should go down. Why is he telling foreign leaders that they should raise their drug prices? Is that so we can compete better? Is that so we don't buy them from France? What the fuck is going on? Let's continue.
If we go to $10 to $20, you're going to come way down to 20. We don't want to do that. Now, in all fairness, no other president even tried. But if I called up the heads of the country.
No other president even tried to tell other nations, to tell their industries, to gouge customers. Shocked that never happened before. Guys, when I tell you this man has lost his mind, I am not joking. And of course, there's more. I got a few more clips. Yeah, the 10 to 25 battleships. He's also back on now he's bringing drug prices down 1,400%. He refuses. When he is told that's not how math works, he triples down on it because he doesn't care about reality. Donald Trump cannot change math. He just cannot. And it's really unfortunate. Now, I want to show you there is another clip from here. He is asked about Jeff Epstein, and he doesn't really fully answer the question. So let me find that. Actually, let me first share, since he was on his Greenland, let's listen to what's going on with Maduro and Venezuela. And let me say, I've seen on social media, and I don't know if it's accurate, if it's just trolling or inaccurate, but what I have seen is supposedly the Russian government is telling people, Russian citizens or Russian government employees, to leave Venezuela. Now, that may or may not be true. And even if it is true, it may just be some kind of trolling. I don't know. But to the extent that it is both true and for their protection, it's looking like the ramping up to, kinetic on-ground war with Venezuela is still in the works. Let's listen to what crazy head, the Orange Menace, had to say.
Ultimate goal in Venezuela to force Maduro from power?
Well, I think it probably would. I can't tell that. That's up to him, what he wants to do. I think it would be smart for him to do that. But again, we're going to find out. Look, Venezuela did terrible things to the United States. They sent hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people into our open border. They sent their criminals, they sent their prisoners, they sent their drug dealers, they sent their mentally insane and incompetent people into our country more than any other country. Others did too. The Congo did. Others.
Okay. Mentally insane people in our country, as the saying goes, some of them are homegrown, and you'll see one if you look in the mirror. Donald Trump. Okay, I do want to find this clip when about they ask him about Epstein. By the way, he also said that the head of Pakistan told him he saved 10 million lives. Hardly. It's just lunatics. Okay. Now I do want to find, I'm sorry, guys. Okay. I've got the Epstein. Okay. Let's go with this Epstein. Here we go. And here is our final dose of Crazy Town, because reality bites, and it is going to bite back on Donald Trump. He may try to put his name on a gazillion things, but the minute he is gone, there will be people prying it off. The level of celebration when he is ousted from office, either because he is voted out, either because his term ends. Think about that. His term ends January 20th, 2029, or natural causes before then, or he resigns or is impeached. There is an end. Don't believe that this is how we are going to always live. Yeah, I like the camaraderie. I like the spirit of fighting back, but I like democracy. I like caring about people. I like community. I like togetherness over domination. We will get through this. And there is an end to Donald Trump's presidency, no matter what. The latest will be noon, January 20th, 2029. Period. Now let's play the last clip I got for you, because the Epstein case will sink him. Let's go.
Bankers and lawyers and others, and they'll end up, because of guys like Massey, who's a real lowlife, whose polls are down to about 9%, by the way, in the great state of Kentucky. If you look at Kentucky.
Massey. He says his polls are down. I don't think he is running for re-election. I might be wrong. I thought he doesn't actually care about that. Yeah, I think he will face a big fight. Yeah, I think he may be running again in 2026, but I don't think the guy is focusing on his own personal career, idiot. He's focusing on victims and truth. Oops, sorry, I got more. I didn't mean to cut this off. Let's start over and I will shut up, I promise.
Bankers and lawyers and others, and they'll end up, because of guys like Massey, who's a real lowlife, whose polls are down to about 9%, by the way, in the great state of Kentucky. If you look at Kentucky, Kentucky is such a great place, but I don't know, they've got a couple of people on there that are very strange in terms of leadership, but Massey's a loser, and he likes it, and that he works with the Democrats. He's just being used by the Democrats, because what this whole thing is with Epstein is a way of trying to deflect from the tremendous success that the Republican Party has. Like, for instance, today we're building the biggest ships in the world, most powerful ships in the world, and they're asking me questions about Jeffrey Epstein. I thought that was finished. I believe they gave over 100,000 pages of documents. And there is tremendous backlash. It's an interesting question, because a lot of people are very angry that pictures are being released of other people that really had nothing to do with Epstein, but they're in a picture with him because he was at a party, and you ruin a reputation of somebody. So a lot of people are very angry that this continues. A lot of Republicans are angry because of the fact that it's just used to deflect against a tremendous success. Look, we have 18.
Never a concern for the victims. A reputation is ruined because you were in a photo with somebody? Hardly. And if you are palling, this guy was your best friend, Donald. Best friend. He knew exactly what Epstein was doing. And by the way, remember, Donald Trump doesn't himself use email. So there will be no emails. He is not as dumb as Donald Trump is in terms of math and other aspects. He is far more insightful than Larry Summers, who put that shit in writing. Keep that in mind. There's all kinds of ways to be intelligent. Far be it for me to ever compliment Donald Trump, but if you're going to be a flippin' mob boss, you usually don't leave records. But here's the deal. There is dirt on Donald Trump and this cover-up in these files, and it will come out. And regardless, unless he blows up the planet with nuclear weapons, you and I will be together at the very latest, January 20th, 2029. And so this is enough time to plan our outfits because I'm hoping I get to wear it earlier. I have an idea. I think I should wear a festive hat. Jason, you had a very festive hat at our Zoom chat. I am looking for a festive hat because it doesn't matter what else I wear. So I want to look for a very festive, very grandiose FU hat for the day he is gone from office in whatever way and whatever capacity that takes. Love you guys. I will see you on tomorrow, which is Christmas Eve. Okay, guys? And we can talk about, Christmas Eve morning, and we can talk about your plans and talk about the break I will be taking on Christmas Day because, that's the day, even though I don't celebrate the holiday, where I sit around and think about Chinese food. Now, my family, I think, is vetoed Chinese food this year, so I'm going to try to press for, I think we're having Impossible Burgers and sweet potato fries at home, which is very exciting for me. Delicious. Thank you, Michael. And I want to say one last thing. Our dear beloved Tank. I want to talk about Tank. Tank has broken his beak, but he is, don't worry, in recovery. He's being treated. He is not in pain. And I want to hear more news from Tank's mommy soon and some photos of him as he gets repaired. We love you, Tank. We're thinking about you, your health, and your well-being. Have a great rest of your day, my friends.
Hello, prison mates. It's the Gen Taub Show. Well, welcome everyone. Let's learn about what is happening in politics yesterday and today. There was hope, and we are together in this democracy we work for. And again, welcome to the Gen Taub Show.